There's a kind of pain that doesn't have a name in most conversations. It doesn't come with sympathy cards. Nobody checks on you. Nobody even knows you're hurting because the person you're grieving is still alive. Think about that for a second. They're somewhere out there, breathing, living, maybe even laughing. And yet something inside you feels like you've lost them completely. That's not weakness. That is one of the most painful human experiences that exists. And it has a name. It's called ambiguous loss. Ambiguous loss is grief without closure, mourning someone who hasn't died, but who is no longer present the way you needed them to be. Maybe you're grieving a parent who was physically here but never emotionally available. Someone who provided a roof, but never really saw you. And you spent years grieving the parent you needed but never had. Maybe you're grieving a friendship that faded without a single fight. Now you see their life on a screen and grieve what you used to have every time you see their name. Or maybe you're grieving someone who is still right there, still in your home, still in your life. But something has broken between you, and the person sitting across from you feels like a stranger wearing a familiar face. Here's what makes this grief so uniquely painful. When someone dies, the world acknowledges your loss. There are rituals, there is support. People understand why you're crying, but when you grieve someone who is still alive, there's silence. If you try to tell someone, they'll often say, "But they're still here, aren't they? Can't you just work it out?" And suddenly your grief feels invalid, like you don't have the right to hurt this much over someone who is still breathing. But you do, because what you lost isn't just a person. You lost the relationship, you lost the future you imagined with them. You lost the version of them you loved, or the version you always hoped they would become. And sometimes the deepest grief isn't over who they were, it's over who they never were. You can grieve something you never fully had. That loss is just as real, that wound is just as deep. So, how do you heal? First, give yourself permission to grieve. Stop minimizing it because they're still alive. Your loss is real. Say it out loud. I am allowed to grieve this. Second, understand that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means you slowly learn to carry it differently. The weight doesn't vanish, but you get stronger. Third, release the hope of the old version. Part of what keeps ambiguous loss so painful is holding on to who they used to be. Sometimes healing requires grieving that hope too, accepting who they are now and deciding what space they deserve in your life. And finally, shouts find your people. Grief thrives in isolation. Find the ones who sit with you in the silence. Because you were never meant to carry this alone. You are not dramatic for hurting over someone who is still alive. You are not broken for grieving a relationship that never fully existed. You are human, carrying one of the heaviest, quietest kinds of loss there is. And you deserve to heal, not because they gave you closure, but because you gave it to yourself. Know more, feel more, heal more.